Namaskaram, everyone. So, so today's context of the talks is about the highly misunderstood yogi, also known as the Adi Yogi or the Shiva himself. You can find endless stories about him. I've got plenty of books here regarding him, his disciples, his lineage. Many stories about him has become scriptures. Because we see Shiva walking all over the place in pictures, in movies, in art, and everything. So we just want to know, have a little bit more discussion about, how Shiva looks like and why he looks like that. In Shiva, in Sadhguru's word, in Mystics Musing, Sadhguru says that Shiva represents both that you can glorify as well as something that you can hate. So if you can accept someone who has got all the attributes that you can like and that you can dislike, then you can go beyond the dualities of life. That is one way of approaching it. Unlike the many other deities or many other representation of deities in Sanatana Dharma, Shiva is represented as the destroyer. With time, the stories and everything has become a little bit different, but destroyer basically means the destroyer of the ignorance. And ignorance is directly correlated with the types of information we collect, our memories and everything, because the result of our memories and the karma is what we refer as the Maya. So, even after many people claim to follow Shiva, they still have different understanding about Shiva himself. If you misunderstood this one guy that you follow, then most of the things are going to be misunderstanding only. That is the reason the yogis have said that the understanding is the only misunderstanding there is. The moment you say you understand, you are bound to misunderstand. I know many of you have got so many important things going on at the moment. But somehow we just want to have a short discussion about Shiva here. If you are interested, because we have got only a few more days for Shiva. After the Amavasya, the Devi is going to take over. And out of the 4 Navaratri that comes every year, this is the most auspicious and the most powerful nights for the Devi. So we have got today and tomorrow and day after tomorrow. Today, you can say it's a precursor of the Pradosham. Tomorrow is the Shivaratri. And then day after tomorrow is the Mahalaya Amavasya. So after that, the nights of the Devi is going to begin. So before that, we wanted to take this opportunity to have some discussion about the Shiva, because most of the people claim that they know Shiva and everything. So let's, rather than me talking monotonously, let's have a few questions here. So when you think about Shiva, what are the different things that actually differentiate Shiva, or how you identify Shiva? Okay. So I'm just waiting for a few of the answers. So if you say Shiva, what are the symbolisms of Shiva? Seems like you guys have got now taken over by the food, feeling sleepy or too busy with something. So what do you think when you talk about the symbolism of Shiva? What do you think? What are the symbolisms of Shiva? I think your mobile keyboards are not working. Okay. Okay, somebody says Linga. So how Sanskrit works is there are dhatu. What is dhatu of Shiva? Okay, Shiva is Mahakala. Okay, so we're not going into different names of Shiva, but like how you know as Shiva. For example, like I'll give you a few of the examples. When you see the image of the Shiva, you will see a few things which are going to be quite different from other deities. For example, Shiva has got Trishula, Shiva has got the Naga, Shiva has got the moon, Shiva is sitting on the tiger skin, Shiva is wearing the ashes, Shiva wears the Rudraksha. So a whole lot of symbolisms are there in Shiva. Yeah, I gave the answer, so okay. So for the people who have just joined in, we are having a discussion about the symbolisms of Shiva. Okay, Nandi is the another one. Okay. Okay. Some Anna is saying Adiyogi is black color. Okay. When you think about Shiva, what do you think? What do you see? What are the symbolisms? Because in the world at the moment, like everybody seems to know Shiva. Yeah, blue throat. Okay, that's amazing. Yeah. Because at the moment in the world, the problem is that most of the people, everybody knows of the Shiva, but they don't actually know the true meanings or the hidden meanings or the esoteric meanings behind the Shiva. Because, as you know, like the symbolisms are basically used to, encode the particular meanings into the system. Okay, yeah, cosmic dancer is one of the aspects. Yantra of Shiva is 2 triangles up and down. Okay. Okay. Okay, yeah, Vibhuti, very wonderful. Okay, many things are coming up. I'm just looking forward to whether you guys are getting the contacts or not. He is a Volenath compassionate to even demons. Okay. Damuru, yeah, that's really nice. Okay, we're now getting somewhere. Okay, I can actually see only a few people are engaged. Some of you are too busy to join in and join out. Right, very, very interesting things. I actually want to show you guys a very rare book here that I I don't have a privilege of carrying the book around and everything, but somehow I've got a book here. Fortunately, unfortunately, I've got like a whole lot of things in my hand. This book is known as the Himawat Khand. So if you guys can see, like this is a pretty thick book. It's quite insane, to be honest. One of the key things that I wanted to show you is like it has a picture of a Pashupatinath, like which is very, very rare. Okay, so so half eye is closed, matted hair, third eye, tiger's skin, a whole lot of things can be associated with Shiva and everything. Okay, whole lot of things. But as we discussed earlier and everything, that one of the Akka was saying his name is Volenath and everything. It's fine. Like if you are a devotee, it is completely fine that you can associate with him as anything that you want and so on. Now let's go into the symbolisms of Shiva one at a time. Okay. So if you guys are interested in everything, but I hope there will be some interaction also. You guys are responding it back. Don't just log in and log out and everything. Then there's no point of having this conversation. I'm just trying to make it as as candid as possible, rather than making it as serious as it is. So recently, as you know, we took people to Kailash. Not only that, we usually take people to the Shiva temples, Pashupatinath temple, of course, in Nepal, and soon we'll be taking people towards the Panchamahabhuta temple, which is the 5 element temples in South India, and many Shiva temples and so on. So a whole lot of places we are going to take them. The idea is not only to experience, because if you are just interested in experiencing and everything, there are many different things you can do to experience. There's no need to go anywhere else. But we are not only interested in, experiencing. Okay. If you're interested only in experiencing, you don't need to go anywhere else. Just doing your sadhana every day is more than enough if you just want to experience and have a good life and everything. But there are more to than just experience it is. So that is the whole point of taking people to the Shiva temples and everything, because even in the ways of spiritual processes, usually most of the yogis give it as a name of the Jnana and Bhakti. Okay, Jnana and Bhakti are the best ways to liberate yourself. Many yogis have said that. So when it comes to the Bhakti, it is associated with the duality. So it is always between you and the Guru, you and the deity, you and the object of the devotion. But when it comes to the Jnana, you cannot know something by creating a distance from someone. Okay. You can love something from far, 100%. You can love something from far. But if you really want to know, the only way is to become that. That is the way of the Shiva. Without becoming Shiva, you cannot know Shiva. Okay. People who claim that they know Shiva by creating a distance from the Shiva are lying. It is not possible to know Shiva without allowing, a chunk of it to be destroyed by Shiva himself. Now, when we are referring to the Shiva, we are not referring to the Shiva that is drawn in the picture, or the Shiva that is, walking around, the Shiva in the calendar images and everything. we're talking about the Shiva, that is your own innate dimension. There is. So there are many symbolisms of Shiva that allows you to know. Many weeks before, like somebody asked me the question, what is the difference between Shiva and, all that kind of stuff. So it is good to know that, it is good to have practices, it is good to have everything, but at the same time, it is good to know that, how the symbolism works, because the symbolisms hide the secrets, the esoteric information regarding, what Shiva really is. Now, rather than talking roundabout and roundabout and roundabout, let's get to the point and start with each symbolism of Shiva. So we'll start with the simplest part, the Shiva sitting on the tiger skin. The tiger skin is basically in a way consecrated and very powerful way of sitting it on the bottom. So you can see Lord Shiva is always sitting on the tiger skin. It has got spiritual aspects of it also, but at the same time, the symbolism actually represents that going beyond the animal nature, because how much better you think, or how good you think about yourself, the body is the animal itself. So if you are not conscious enough, the body is going to take over your life. Then the food, the sleep, relationships and everything will become far more important than the spiritual process itself. So the Shiva sitting on the tiger skin represents that, transcending the animal nature. Okay, you are above the animal nature. The tiger skin doesn't actually represent the tiger skin, but it represents the animal nature of the physical body. Okay, so when he is meditating, the symbolism represents that when you are meditating, when you are gone beyond the body and mind, you have transcended your physical body also. So physical body represents the animal nature. The next part of the symbolism of the Shiva is basically the snakes. I think you guys must have seen the snakes everywhere. Sadhguru also talks a lot about the snakes. The snake represents the meditative quality of the stillness and awareness at the same time, but also the dormant Kundalini energy. So many of the people who are going to all these energy spaces on their own, or with somebody else, or even with me, or with Sadhguru and everything, they are going to all these places because of course there are mystical dimensions, there are other things are also there, but at the same time, the main objective is they want to meditate. Okay, so the easiest way to meditate is in the presence of very high energy, very high spiritual energy. So all these energy spaces, whether it is a temple or a samadhi or meditative, some spiritual places and everything, these are nothing but the sources of spiritual energy. So they will allow you to meditate very well. But If you have arrived to a point where you can cultivate your own Kundalini energy, then there's no need for going to the spiritual places. Okay, there's no need to go to Kailash, there's no need to go to any temple, because the dormant energy called Kundalini energy is not limited or localized to yourself only. You can access unlimited energy from that one. So the snake that is with Shiva represents the meditative quality of stillness and awareness, and also the Kundalini energy that is required for you to meditate effortlessly. So that is the symbolism of the snake. And you might be saying in the finger also. So moving into the next. So the another symbolism of Lord Shiva is basically the Agna Chakra, which is the eye that is open, third eye. Okay, there's a story that there was a god of love, or Kamadeva, who actually, wanted to bring Shiva back from asceticism to Grihastha, or he wanted Lord Shiva to get married and have a family. So I'll not go into too much detail into the story. It's a big, long story. So the symbolism actually represents is in the energy body, the lower four chakras are associated with the Lord Brahma and Lord Vishnu. Meanwhile, the fifth and the sixth chakra, which is the Vishuddhi chakra here, and then here the Agna chakra, these are associated with the Rudra. So this Agna chakra is associated with the non-duality, because all the ignorance comes from the duality only. So it is because of the duality, because our five senses, all our five senses, they all function in relation to your previous memory. So it is always comparing, whether it is heat in your body, whether it is a pain or a pleasure, it is a light or a darkness, whether it is taste or sourness or whatever it is. Your five senses are always comparing. It's always in duality. So whatever is in the duality can never be absolute and can never be real. So because of that reason, you always see that okay, what you experience is real. That is the way of the body. But the symbolism of the third eye is the moment it opens, the seeker is capable of experiencing the dimension that is beyond the physicality, that is beyond the mind and body. So with that, if you stay in that for extended period of time, and if you are established in that one, then the compulsions of the body cannot touch you. That is the meaning of the Agna Chakra. So when the third eye is open, then the duality is gone. There's no more duality left for you. So the Agna Chakra also represents the cancellation of both the masculine and feminine dimension, because that is the deity of the Agna Chakra is the Ardhanarishwara, which basically means that you see the things as they are. You are no longer identified with the limited. Now the another symbolism of Shiva is the Vibhuti. Okay, I think I've already worn it and everything. So this has got many meanings. One of the meaning is basically it actually makes you conscious that like one day you are going to die also. The hardcore meaning of Shaivism, or the symbolism of Shaivism, comes from the difference between the Shiva and Shiva is only the matter of the consciousness. When you are unconscious, you are potential Shiva. That basically means you can die any moment. But if you are conscious, you are a potential Shiva. Okay, so there's no difference between Shiva and Shiva. That is the whole reason, the Kali is standing on the top of the Shiva. That is not a Shiva, that is a potential Shiva. Okay, he is unconscious. The esoteric meaning is that is not Shiva, that is a potential Shiva. So the Kali is trying to wake him up. Waking up, you have slept enough. This entire life, you have slept enough, thinking I'm this, I'm that, and everything. You are waking up. Before the death is going to shatter your dreams, it's better to wake up yourself. That is what the Kali is trying to say to the potential Shiva. So the ashes represents that you, if you are unconscious, you will die as a Shiva. Or before the death comes, you can wake up as a Shiva. That is the meaning of the ashes. But at the same time, there are many different ways you can create ashes, and I'll not go into too much detail, but you have to understand that the ashes, if possible, should be consecrated. So if you are Isha meditator, you know where to get your ashes from. The vibhuti. Do not use, if you are living in a family condition, do not use the one from the cremation grounds and everything. It's not conducive for you, but the Dhanalinga consecrated vibhutis are, or if you go to any of the dhunis or any of the samadhis or temples or something, then the ashes there is fine for you to use it for your sadhana. And I think you already know which parts of your body you should be using your vibhuti into it. So the major energy centers must be used so that they will be receiving the maximum amount of energy, rather than for example, let's say you want to wash your face. Going and taking a shower every time you want to wash your face is not going to be good, and most of the water will be wasted. So if you want to wash your face, you just put your water in the face. Likewise, you just use the vibhuti on the points where you want to receive the maximum spiritual energy or generate it. There are other things into it, but I will not go into that one. So the another symbolism of the Shiva is using the vibhuti. Okay, so you will always see him ass smeared and everything. The next symbolism of Shiva is the Damaru. Okay, so Damaru represents many things, but if you look into the Nataraja image, it represents basically the creation. Okay, and the creation is an ongoing process. That is the representation of the Damaru. Okay, so when you are playing the Damaru, it is going to generate the reverberation, vibration, and that actually symbolizes the creation. And not only that, it also represents the many dimensions of the creation itself. For example, what you refer as the physicality, what you refer as the sound, energy, light, darkness, stillness, everything are just manifestation of the same energy in different rebirths. So regarding the Lord of Destruction, we'll come into that one. So I'll just like answer this question, okay? But he's the Lord of Destruction, right? Yeah. So when you refer Shiva as the Lord of Destruction, that is what I referred already, that, the moment your third eye is opened, the moment you are established, opened your Agna Chakra and you are established in that one, that is the destruction itself. Because at the moment we identify ourselves as the body, name, physicality, the amount of the money we have made, the type of the things we do and everything, all these kind of things are our own creations for the survival to take in place. And for most of the people, they think that like it is real. That is the reason like they suffer. As Sadhguru says, they suffer what has happened in the past. They suffer what has not even happened in the future also. Because they have strongly identified with the things they are not. But the moment your Agna Chakra is open, when you have the direct encounter with the reality, then destruction is not the correct word, but you can use the word destruction, because the moment you see the reality, all the false, all the untruth is all destroyed. You can say destroyed also. But they will lose their grasp on you yourself. So that is the reason like, Vishnu is known as the Bhakti Marga and Shiva is known as the Jnana Marga, because the moment you know the false is destroyed, or like the false actually never existed. You thought the false was truth. So that is the meaning of the Lord of Destruction. Like he is not a physical guy, he is going to come and burn something like that. Because as we know, even if you burn something, in the reality, you cannot destroy anything completely. Okay? One form will always change into another form. You destroy the water by burning it, boiling it, it becomes a vapor. The vapors goes into the sky and becomes a cloud. The cloud, if you destroy it, becomes a rain, and so on. So anything you destroy takes one form to another. But if you destroy the ignorance, then the only thing that remains is the truth. So the another symbolism is, like I mentioned, is the Damaru. The Damaru represents the sound of the creation, as well as it represents the most grossest to the most subtlest, all forms within itself. So it says that like the creation is just the reverberation. The creation is just the reverberation, it is. So what we call as a divine is one type of reverberation. What you call as a human is one type of reverberation. What you call as a nature is one kind of reverberation, and so on. It's just a reverberation. So the next symbolism of the Shiva is basically the Nilkantha, which is the blue throat. And the book I showed you, the book elaborately goes into different contexts into that one. Now, the symbolism of the blue throat is basically just like I mentioned, the lower four chakras are associated with the Brahma and the Vishnu, which has to do with the dualities and everything. The Agna chakra, and then the Vishuddhi chakra are associated with the Rudra. So basically, the Vishuddhi chakra, basically the name literally means purifying. Vishuddha basically means is the purest or the genuine and everything. So what it does is like it's the transition from the duality to non-duality. So up to the Agna chakra, there's a duality. But the moment if you want to go through to the Agna Chakra, you have to go through the filter or the thing that is going to purify you. And that is why, why it is called the wife, it is associated with the poison and everything, is because non-duality is the only solution, and duality is the only problem there is. Because all your comparison, whenever you comparison, let's say you had the greatest experience in your life, but if you start comparing it with somebody else, you will poison it. For example, you might have one house, you are very happy, but now you saw somebody else with 2 houses. Now you start comparing. Now your happiness has been destroyed only because you compared. So as long as you are living in a duality, you will poison yourself. And you have to go through this filter so that you leave behind the duality, and you arrived at the non-duality over there. So that is the meaning of the Visuddhi. Now there are other symbolisms also. For example, the Trishula of the Shiva. So if you look into the Trishula of the Shiva, the middle part of the Trishula is always taller than the other 2. So these other two sides, spokes of the Trishula, represents the Ida and Pingala, which are basically the dualities of your life. Okay, without the dualities of your life, your body cannot survive here. Because it is because of the duality you can experience the change in the weather, whether you are feeling hungry or not, and all that kind of stuff. So all this kind of thing, your dualities in your experience is all happening through the play of your Ida and Pingala. But now you have lived enough through the dualities and you are frustrated and you want to go beyond that one. That is when the middle spoke of the Trishula represents the Shushumna. Okay, so Shushumna is the main energy channel in your body, which is not open for most of the people. It is closed for most of the people because it is not necessary for your survival. So through your kriya or for whatever reason, once the energy starts moving through the Shushumna, only then you will be able to experience the non-dual reality. Okay, that is the whole reason that you must have heard about the words like Kundalini awakening and all that kind of stuff. That is only happening possible because for whatever reason the Shushumna is now active. Okay, so when the Shushumna is active, then the energy starts moving through the middle channel, and it is the only channel because your Ida and Pingala, they cannot go beyond the Agna Chakra. But the Shushumna can go even beyond the Agna Chakra and hits the Sahasrara. So the Trishula, the side spokes, represents your Ida and Pingala. Meanwhile, the middle one represents the Shushumna. Okay, so the person who has been doing the Kriya Yoga and Sadhana for a long period of time, they have the capability of opening and closing their Shushumna at will. That gives them the ability to, do things with their body and other aspects also. So next time if you see the Trishula, don't see it as just a weapon. It is a weapon, of course, because when you are living in a forest, maybe 15, even 500, 600 years back, forget about thousands of years back. If you are living in a forest, living alone and everything, you need certain kind of weapon to protect yourself from the wild animals or any other people who wants to harm you. So Trishula is not merely the weapon, but a representation that it shows the way to go beyond the dualities of Ida and Pingala. Now, what are the other things left? Anybody can tell? What are the other symbolism left of Shiva? Yeah. So other symbolism is basically he has got like a wife called Parvati. And in the mysticism and everything, there's a reason why she is called Parvati, because Parvati is no other than the Kundalini energy or the Shakti, which is the feminine dimension. Now, when you are talking about the masculine and feminine dimension now at this sphere, we're not talking in terms of masculine and feminine in terms of the dynamics, but in terms of the mysticism, there is something known as the Shiva and Shakti. Okay. Now, when you're talking about the Shiva, we are talking about the dimension which is completely still, which is inert, and has no expression. Okay, we are talking about the dimension which is expressionless. And now, whatever is expressive, whatever we can see and experience, we refer that as the Shakti. Okay. So Shiva and Shakti, they are complementary to each other. Now, the mysticism or the spirituality actually explains as a story that, the whole Maya is being generated because Shiva has been separated from the Shakti, or Shakti has been separated from the Shiva. That is why all this Maya is going on and why this illusion is there. Now the objective of the yogi is to take the Shakti back to the Shiva so that it will become whole again, and then the illusion is going to end. That is the whole process of doing the yogic practices. Now, being said that, what we actually refer as the Kundalini energy flows through your spine. Without your spine erect, there's no way your energy can rise. Okay, generally. But there are certain other things also which I'll not go into that one. So, if you lie down and if you look into the spine, your spine actually takes the form of a mountain range. Okay, your spine actually takes the form of the mountain range. That is the whole reason, the spine is referred as the Parvati or the Parvat. Okay, Parvat basically means the mountains, and Parvati is the feminine form of the mountain. So basically, it refers to the chain of your spine or the chain of the mountains through which the Kundalini energy has to flow. The first chakra in the process is actually the Muladhara chakra, which is made up of the earth element, and it's a Ganesha. Okay, that is the reason, there's a story that, or there is a process that, you always have to worship Ganesha in the beginning. But as you go proceed further, you'll hit the Agna chakra. Agna chakra is the sixth chakra, and sixth chakra is represented by the Skanda Kumara, or the Skanda. Skanda basically means is also known as the six-headed Kumara, or the Murugan as known in the South India. Subramaniam, he has got many different names, but why Skanda or the Kartikeya is shown as the six heads is because he has mastery over the six chakras. And that is the whole reason, if you go to the Tamil Nadu, there is a 6 temples associated with these 6 different chakras. spread across the Tamil Nadu. The Palani Hill is one of them. So now why I'm referring to this one is because as the energy moves upward, and once it reaches to the Agna Chakra and everything, and once it crosses beyond that one, then it hits the Sahasrara, and that leads to the ecstasy of the spiritual seeker. That is where it dissolves all its illusion and everything as long as he stays there. But if he comes out from that state and then comes down again, the Maya takes over again. So, but that state, when it comes, then you go into certain kind of ecstasy and everything, and that is the whole reason the Ganga or the river is shown as coming out from the the Sahasrara of the Lord Shiva, is because if you go into the Himalayas has long been, for thousands and thousands of years, many yogis have been doing a whole lot of sadhana in that area. So because of that reason, the entire river has been consecrated. There are other reasons also, I'll not go into that one, but because of all that reason, the entire river has been consecrated. And that is the same reason, when Shiva hits his Sahasrara, the ecstasy happens, and that's how is the representation of the Ganga. So Ganga represents the fruit or the stream of the ecstasy that is coming from the Shiva himself. The stage of the Samadhi leads to that, the Ganga. And in Kailash also, there are several rivers that is coming from Kailash. Especially the south face, as Sadhguru says, is very, very powerful, because not only Shiva but his lineage after himself and many other yogis have done a whole lot of sadhana there. Because of that reason, the entire water becomes consecrated. And the memory of the water is completely different. So now, if you guys do not know that Ganga is also referred as the mother of the Kartikeya. Now, I think we are running out of many symbolism. One of the main important symbolism is basically the Rudraksh, if you say. So the yogis will be wearing the Rudraksh and everything. One of the reasons why the Shiva is wearing the Rudraksh, of course, there are many reasons. There's a story that when Shiva was in ecstasy, the tears came out of his eyes, and then it actually became the Rudraksh itself. Okay. However, in mysticism, Rudraksh is basically a very important tool which preserves the energy, because it's very sensitive, it's very receptive, and it responds differently in different energy situations. And it is very, very important that it has been programmed or energized properly before you wear it. Otherwise, it's of no good use. And you always have to energize it with higher power than yourself, always. Okay. There are many there are other ways also to it. Even if you have not energized it, if you are doing a very powerful sadhana and everything, slowly the Rudrakshi is going to get energized with your sadhana also. So that is the whole reason that you do few, maybe 1 hour, half an hour, whatever sadhana you are doing and everything. Once you do the sadhana, if you are wearing the Rudraksh is going to support you for extended period of time. So yeah, if you are traveling too much and everything, then Rudraksh is something that you rarely need, because it's the one of the most important aspects that you need as a spiritual seeker. So yeah, I think like we have covered most of the aspects of Shiva. So we started with the tiger skin, why Shiva sits on the tiger skin, why he has a Domaru, why he has a Trishul, why he is represented with the third eye, why he has a sons like Ganesha, Parvati, Ganga, Kartikeya, family members, Vibhuti, snake. Yeah, one thing we didn't discuss is the moon. I think like this is the last thing that we left to discuss. So as you know, like Shiva is always shown with the crescent moon. The crescent moon actually represents the moon of the Pradosha. Okay, Pradosha comes actually like before the Amavasya as well as the Purnami, but we are interested mostly with the one going towards the Amavasya. So this is the time when it is said, Sadhguru uses the word that this represents the Sahasrar of the Shiva. Okay, so if you are not interested with any of the knowing, but you just want to be ecstatic, because when you go into the Sahasra, like a knowing is impossible for you. If you want to know that, you have to hang on here. Okay, hang on to the Agna Chakra, because this is all about knowing. This is all about dissolution. So the Pradosha is actually usually comes like a 3 nights before the Amavasya. So it is the time when there's a crescent moon, and if you have got very powerful processes and everything, or if you do visit the powerful energy spaces or temples or something, then this is the time you can have taste of the ecstasies of Shiva himself. So that is the whole reason that Shiva is also known as the Someshwara, because for the one we just want to be ecstatic, and then moon is for you. Okay, if you want to know, then Agna Chakra is for you. If you want to become like an Agora, you don't want to know the discrimination between this and that and everything, then Access is the way for you. So these are like a many different symbolism of Shiva. So I think we have covered most of it. There might have been something might have been left. That's a different thing altogether. So I'll just take a few of the questions if you guys have. And then we'll try to wrap up. I think a few of the guys are trying to join the call. It is best that you can just ask the question in the chat box. It will be easier. So how Sanskrit works is there are dhatu. What is the dhatu of Shiva? Okay, I don't know about the nomenclatures about the Sanskrit about the Shiva and everything, but whenever we are referring to the Shiva, we refer Shiva as who is actually beyond the form and formlessness. There are many terminologies, the same thing for the Vaishnavites and the Shaivites and Shaktism and so on also. But yeah. So next Nepal Mandala Yatra might take place only next year. Another question we have is becoming rich important or spiritual rich, which is important for India? Now, I think like if you are hungry, if you don't have time to do sadhana and everything, then becoming rich is also important. But in the long run, like because wealth is something that will come and go, and it's very relative in nature. So put spirituality first, but do not ignore the economic aspects also, because for most of the people, like if economic aspect is very bad, then they cannot become spiritual. So in Mystics Musings, Sadhguru talks about 1 million Kamalbhati in Sakti Chalanagriya. Please show some light on this. I think like he has explained very well in the book itself. So yeah, don't attempt it like that. Like take the precaution from the ashram and increase as you go. Okay. So let's not discuss into these things here. Maybe someday, like if we meet and personally we can discuss, but not in an open platform like this. Please follow the guidance from the ashram. I don't know how easy or difficult it is to drop cravings. Okay, so Sadhguru says that like if you want to drop something, it is almost impossible. If you want to drop something, it is almost impossible. It is not about easy or hard. But if you find something better than that, then it will drop by itself. Okay. For example, there used to be letters, handwriting letters. For example, like if you want to send the message from your village to another village or one place to another, you have to write a whole lot of letter in the paper. You have to buy the envelope. You have to buy the one stamp. Okay, and then you have to go and put it into the post box. Whole lot of steps were there. Okay, now let's say you consider this as your cravings, but now you don't want to do it, but you have to do it. It's like that. But now the email has come. Okay, now in the email you just need to write the email address, type a message and send it. Nowadays we can send the messages very easily. So if you want to like send the mail the old way, you can still do it. But now since you found the better way, it doesn't even bother you that like okay, you don't want to do it. Same thing as the cravings also. If you have found something more profound than that, then these things will drop by itself. It will lose control over yourself. But before doing that, like you have to keep in mind is just try to engage yourself in something that is far more valuable than yourself. Then these things, you will not have enough time to think about these kind of things and so on. So about the tiger skin we have discussed earlier, we have discussed about the Bhasma also. Okay, Mundamala. Okay. So this is like a little bit more extreme form of Shiva in which he is wearing the Mundamala and everything. Now there are two aspects, just like we discussed earlier, like in the Shaivism, there's no difference between the Shiva and a Shava. There's no difference between you and me. There's no difference between you and Shiva. The only difference between an unconscious person and a Shiva, or the Shiva and Shiva, is the matter of the consciousness. So when Shiva is wearing a mundamala, he is telling that, there's no difference between me and this mundamala, there's no difference between me and you, there's no difference between anything. But if you are unconscious, you are as willing to become one of the munda of this mundamala. Because if you are unconscious and if you die, you just die as a body. Okay? For the Shiva, is not happy if you die as a body. He wants you to die as an individual and rise as a Shiva. Okay? So there are two things. One thing is, what he is saying with the mundamala is, there's no difference between life and death. Okay? There's no life between life and death. There's no difference between day and night. There's no difference between you and me. There's no difference between Shiva and Shava. There's no difference between this and that. Okay? He's just saying that death is also an ignorance. Okay? So he's saying that if you are ignorant, you die as a body. So why don't you be aware and then die as the individual and rise as the Shiva? Okay. So it is actually telling you that there's no difference between life and death. There's no difference between everything. And he's trying you to accept the reality as it is. Because if you avoid death, for example, let's say, that is the whole reason I mentioned earlier also that in the Mystic Musing, Sadhguru says that if you can accept Shiva, you can accept life. Okay, because if you want to accept life, you have to accept everything about life. Okay, life is not only about Instagram, life is not only about nice food, life is not only about Sadhguru. Okay, life is not only about the stock. Life is not only about the holidays you want to go. Life is not about the Kailash you went or the Kailash you want to go. Life is also about, the crisis people are going through, the illness people are going through, the breakup people are going through, the pain they are going through, the death they heard in the news, or their loved ones they have lost. This is all different things, are all parts of life. But what Shiva is trying to say is okay, it is fine. This is all life. Okay. But what is the reality? Okay. Shiva says the reality is everything is same. There's no such thing going on. You have identified yourself as the false reality. You have identified yourself as this and that. That is the whole reason all this circus seems real to you. The moment you realize that all this circus is not real, even the individuality that you have created is not real, this is all one big lila. Okay, you identified everything as real and then you start suffering. That is not the way. So what Shiva is saying is, by wearing the mundamala, he is telling you that death is also part of life. You first accept it and then try to see what this is all about. Because without accepting anything, you cannot know anything. Okay? To know something, the first step comes is the acceptance. You have to know that I'm suffering. Okay? Or let's say, you have to accept that I have a headache first. If you don't accept that you have a headache, there's no way to cure your headache, isn't it? Maybe it might go away after a few days, but just to, give the analogy, to know that you are suffering, you have to accept it first. Okay, you have to accept I'm suffering. Now, don't complain. Now see what is the cause of my suffering. And that's how the seeking begins. And eventually you will realize that all your suffering is not the suffering actually. It is just the symptoms of the ignorance there is. And the ignorance is you identify yourself with something that you are not. So Shiva is just telling you with the Mundamala that, life and death are not different. But don't die as a body. There are other stories about the Mundamala, but let's not go into that one. That is going to be a big topic by itself. So for the Isha practices, please speak with the Hatha Yoga teachers or the Isha Hatha Yoga school. So Anna is performing austerity also pratyahara. That is 100%. Okay, so pratyahara basically means comes from the word pratyahara, which is basically means controlling your senses. Okay, for example, ahara is a food, but here pratyahara does not only mean by the food that is going through your mouth, but also many things that is going through your eyes, ears, your body sensations, skin and everything. So whatever is you are ingesting from outside, what you actually refer as your panchakoshas and everything, whatever it is. Usually it's the most impacted is usually the Annamaya kosha, which is the food body, because the type of the food that you take in makes up your physical body. And then, of course, the thought patterns, and then your memories and everything makes up your Manomaya kosha. So basically, what you actually refer as austerity and everything, again, completely depends on what type of practices you are doing during your austerities and everything. But if you are in a silence, the simplest example is silence and closing your eyes. A certain period of time, the entire momentum will slow down. Okay, that is the whole objective. Because at the moment, why you are thinking all the time, why you are, active all the time, is because there is a certain momentum that is making it happen, which is actually referred as the karma. So when this momentum is going on continuously like this, if it is endlessly happening and everything, then you won't be able to know what is actually going on. So the whole process of pratyahara or the austerity and everything is to slow down yourself. Slow down in terms of action and slow down in terms of your thought processes. So when the activity in your physicality and activity in your mind slows down, then these energies are made available to yourself. Okay, so that is the whole process of slowing down the processes so that you can know what is actually happening underneath. Okay, Buddha gives a very simple example to his cousin brother Ananda. I think you guys must have heard this story before, that when Ananda was going to collect the water for the Buddha, the water was very turbulent, because there was some horses and everything was passing by upstream. So because of that reason, all the water was a little bit murky, and it was not clean enough to drink. Then Ananda comes back to Buddha and then says that Tathagata, the water is little bit murkier, so I'm unable to collect the water. So Buddha says that you don't worry, you go back again and you sit there for a certain period of time meditating, and just see how it will happen after you finish your meditation. So when Ananda goes back again and then sits next to the same water, It sits down. After a certain period of time, the water settles down, and then like all the murkiness, all the you can say soil and everything settles down on the bottom, and then the clean water is left on the top. So it is the same thing. So if you don't, just like Sadhguru says, if you do not meddle up with your mind and everything, then clarity is the only way. So pratyahara is that process in which you give time for your mind and body to settle down by itself. Now, there can be a paradoxical question because I had this question long time before I met Sadhguru when I was doing the Buddhist meditation and so on. Because every time you are going through that one, do you need to do the pratyahara? Yes, initially until you are not established. Okay, until your sadhana is not established and everything, you have to do a whole lot of pratyahara. But once it is established, pratyahara is just a matter of choice. You can do pratyahara even within a split second also. It is possible for everything. But as a beginner, if you are struggling and everything, then you need to do it as long as it is possible for you. I mean, denying your body some comfort, that is not austerity. Denying your body is not an austerity and everything. See, many of the ascetics goes into the forest or goes into the Himalayas and everything. They are not doing that to deny the comfort of the body, but the main reason why they are going into the Himalayas and going to the forest or living alone is because they don't want to forget that they are in the spiritual path. Okay. They don't want to forget they are in the spiritual path because let's say you are living in a city and then you have got AC running in your house, you have got a fridge, food is every there. If you are hungry, you can order food or somebody is there to cook food for you or something like that. Then slowly you will forget that you are in a spiritual path because everything is so comfortable. You don't even want to do your sadhana after some time. Okay, everything is so good, isn't it? Yes, every condition is good. But a yogi living in the Himalayas is burning the fire in front, but at your back, you will still be feeling some cold. Okay, and you have to go and take a bath every day in the morning because the Guru says so. And you are living in the forest. The food is very scarce and everything. Then you cannot forget, okay? Because those conditions, those conscious discomfort is going to remind you that, I'm going to get old one day. At the moment, see, I was 10 years back, how I was, 20 years ago, how I was, and in next 10 years later, how I'll be, and if in 20 years time, how I will be. If you can think like this way, continuously and everything, then you don't need to go anywhere else. But most of the people will not be able to maintain this awareness that life is very temporary. You can die any moment. Most of the people cannot maintain that awareness. So because of that reason, many people take this severe, austere ways so that, the discomfort is going to it will not let them forget that they are on a spiritual path. Because cold happens and then you use one blanket and then it's so warm and cozy and everything. In the winter it is even more better to sleep entire day. So yeah. So I've got another question that I'm wearing the Panchamukhi Rudraks. What are your thoughts on Gauri Shankar Rudraks, the two Rudraks to add on? Yeah, so as far as I know that you can wear the Gauri Shankar Rudraks separately together. So far I've not heard that you should not be wearing conflicting. These Rudraks are not going to be conflicting in nature. So you can wear it. I've met like various people who are making use of the Gauri Shankar Rudraksh, which actually helps you to balance your Ida and Pingala, very easily. So you can wear them, with the Panchmukhi Rudraksh. That is completely fine. So I have this question like, how do you know if it's the mind or it's something else in terms of whatever experiences, knowing or understanding are evolving? Does Atma Chintan makes sense since it's all the mind? Okay. So, analysis, comparison, all these kind of things has no place in spirituality, because what we actually refer as a spiritual process is beyond the mind. So the mind cannot process it. Mind cannot process it. So your mind will always try to, rational. It is try to tell you it should be like this. For example, like you are in a very ecstatic states and everything. You come out. And your mind is going to say, what next? What is this? Okay. So it's the way of the mind. Like it is going to always going to, want to find answers, like what is this and that or something like that. The only thing that matters is like you focus on your sadhana, you stick to your sadhana, and let everything unravel by itself. Don't try to analyze anything, because by analyzing you'll not get anywhere. Because if 10% meditates, 10% are going to experience completely differently. Okay. So analysis are never going to work itself. So just stick to your process. Whatever is happening, let it happen. Whatever is not happening, it's fine. So don't try to analyze anything. By analyzing, you will not get anywhere. So what are sutras and are the energy? Okay. I do not know like what sutras you are referring to, but sutras are basically referred as the condensed version of certain kind of, you can say a formula. Okay, formula. Just like F equal to MA. Similar to that one. You have say that like, Patanjali says like a Yoga Sutras. So he says like, now yoga. Okay. It's like that. But yeah, the words and everything, they can also be consecrated and everything. That's a different thing altogether. So can there be more than one guru for a person? Yes, of course. There can be many gurus. There can be uncountable number of gurus. Okay, there can be multiple number of gurus. If you know about the Dattatreya said that like he had got like a 24 gurus. Okay, or even more. See, what you actually refer as a guru is somebody that can inspire you either to become like them or tell you not to be like them. Okay, anything that you can learn from somebody else, they are your gurus. But now if you are referring to as a spiritual guru, then that's a different thing altogether. That is the different thing altogether. Now, while you are going for the spiritual guru, you have to go after the guru that works for you. Okay, it has to work for you. Okay, don't try to go for like a guru shopping and everything, because it is going to be a big issue afterwards. So see, whatever the guru has given to you, keep into, make a part of it into your life, and see it is working for you or not. If it is working for you, it's great. If it is not working for you, drop it. But you have to give enough time for it to, take root into yourself. Okay. So, spiritual guru, only one. Gurus, you can have infinite number of them. Okay, great. Yeah, if you are going for all these temples and everything, you can get it. Sannidhi.net is completely fine. However, there are more other temples also which are not in the website that you can figure it out yourself, or local peoples are also there. We are no longer updating the website for various different reasons and everything. But yeah, anyways, please make use of the Sannidhi.net website. It's not my website, okay? It's not my website. There's a different story, like how it came to be and whatever I'm doing and everything at the moment. So yeah, all these energy spaces were there before me. I didn't consecrate a single energy space. I hope, the whole objective of our vision of the project is to make spirituality mainstream. That is the only thing we want to do it. Because as Sadhguru says that as long as the spirituality does not come into everybody's life, then it is going to die sooner or later. Okay, it is going to die sooner or later. How powerful it is. Okay, many yogis has come, many enlightened beings. If you see Sannidhi.net, because most of the people are just visiting the temples for experiences, but we did extensive research to visit all these places and everything, and I met a whole lot of people like who got enlightened in many different ways, many different capabilities and everything. And yeah, so there are a whole lot of things that I don't want to discuss here and everything, but it's like that. Okay, it's like that we need to make it mainstream, because many yogis has come and they couldn't even find one worthy disciple to propagate what they knew. There are many yogis like that, and yeah, that is the way it is. So at the moment, let us not only become experienced hunters, because most of us, I can see that have become the experienced hunters. See, what you need to keep in mind is if you cannot think beyond yourself, then it's up to you. But all these energy spaces existed because these people didn't thought about themselves. Okay, they thought about everybody else. They thought beyond themselves. That's how these energy spaces has come into the place. For example, somebody experienced, let's say, Shiva experienced all this, what we actually refer as a spiritual dimension, and let's say he never bothered to share to the people. Or even Gautama the Buddha, after he got enlightened, if he decided not to share with anybody else, then we'd be all eating shit. That is for real. Okay, if Sadhguru decided not to share, what do you do? So let's not become like that. Okay, I can see a whole lot of us are like that. Okay, I can see naturally. I can see. Again, we cannot expect everybody to be like Sadhguru. We can think only about other people, but anyway, we can try to break one simple limitation. Okay, let's not only become experienced hunters. If you become just the experienced hunter, then you will be living a very limited life, very limited life. Okay, I might be completely wrong also, but that is my understanding. Okay, how to differentiate bliss if it has raised from touching Anandamaya Kosha Sahasra? Okay. So you have to understand that a Sahasra belongs to your energy body, and Anandamaya Kosha is beyond your energy body. Okay. These are completely two different things. Okay. So now, do I get the vitamin from, eating the vitamin capsule or eating from a fruit? it doesn't really matter. Okay, so if you are experiencing bliss, that is more than enough. That is more than enough and everything. Okay, you don't need to worry about all these kind of things and everything. Again, like this is going to go into deep into like spirituality and mysticism and everything, but at the moment, like we're gonna discuss more into here, like because this is a very open platform and everything. But like I mentioned, whatever the sadhana you are doing, like just keep it going. Wherever the bliss is coming, like it's great. Okay, because bliss is not only from Shastra also. You can get bliss from your Muladhara, you can get bliss from your other chakras, you can get bliss from your Anahata. Even like Anahata is like even more pleasant than, all that kind of stuff, other things. So, bliss is not necessarily only from like a Sahasrara. Okay. It's like that. For example, like I'm having a conversation here. I don't need to hit, Sahasrara or any other things to become blissful. It's like that. Of course, like everything is working as a one unit, but yeah. So steps to meditation or steps to enter meditative state. So, there are many different ways to get into the meditation, but to know like you are in the meditation, it takes a whole lot of work. Okay, what is a meditation? It needs a whole lot of work, because you can get into a high energy state, powerful experiences in many different ways. But to stay in that effortlessly, that is what the meditation is. You have to be completely effortless. And you are in that state. That is what the meditation is. If you have to struggle a lot, then you are still in a process of making. But to break it down to simple form, let's use the analogy of the Ashtanga Yoga. So it talks into like, because you are only talking about the meditation and not other things. If you just are interested into the meditation, of course, like a Buddhist way is like a little bit different, but usually it follows the same process. There are 3 steps, something known as the Dharana, Dhyana, and Samadhi. Okay, so Dharana is under your control. Okay, Dhyana and Samadhi is not under your control. Okay, Dharana and Dhyana is not your control. Okay, so Dharana basically means like you make yourself one-pointedness with many different ways. In Vijnana Vairava Tantra, Shiva talks about 112 modes of dharana. Okay, dharana basically means if you look into this Rudraksha Mala, I'm wearing it. Wearing basically means in Sanskrit it's known as the dharan. The moment I did the dharan of this Rudraksh, I'm never going to lose it. Okay, it is always here. Yes, whether I sleep or either I take a bath, I run around or something like that, it is there. So basically what we actually refer as the dharana is basically means like it's a continuous process without breaking anything. You should not be breaking anything. So it is also synonymous with the word dhara. So you have a river flowing or the water flowing, then if it is unbroken, it is continuous, then it is like that. Okay, so now like how you arrive into the dharana, many different ways. You can use the mantras, you can use the japa, tapa, you can watch your breath, you can use the imagination, you can do whatever, you can use the bhakti sadhana, you can do whatever you can to maintain your awareness. Now if you want to do it on its own, it's a very painful process. I've tried and It's a very, very difficult way to maintain the dharana on your own. That is the reason, the need of the guru. If you don't have a guru and you just do the dharana, it's going to be a very, very painful process. It can take 12 years or even more, or even many, many lifetimes. It can take a whole lot of things. But if you have a guru, then it's very simple. It's like a piece of cake. You just go and eat it. Okay. So dharana is first thing. You maintain your awareness. And if you have enough energy in your system, this is where the guru comes into the play. If you have enough energy into the system, then you fall into something known as the dhyana. You cannot do dhyana, okay? People say they are meditating and everything. You cannot do meditation. You can do dharana, okay? Concentration you can do. You can practice awareness. You can practice concentration and everything. But you cannot do meditation. Meditation is the process of, you'll fall into something called as a meditation. Okay. So if you stay in a meditation for a long period of time or something known as the dhyana, then you'll end up into the samadhi. Samadhi is the explosive ecstatic states. Okay. So until you do not arrive to that point, then you are just doing the dharana. Okay. You are not even doing the dhyana. So it is very, very important that you use a guru, otherwise you will be having a long, long painful process. And that is the reason many people end up going, having psychological issues and all that kind of stuff. Or many people will drop halfway through and they will only have the psychological process going on, not the spiritual process itself. Okay. So dharana with enough energy support, you can fall into dhyana and samadhi easily. For the one who is already established, you can go into like that. Even the dharana, dhyana and samadhi happens in a moment. You don't even need to go through this process and everything. But it will require a whole lot of guided practice and everything. So if you guys are new to sadhana and everything, go for the inner ranging program. If you don't have enough money, you can go with the Ishakriya and Miracle of the Mind. These things are free to do it. So dharana you can do 100%. It's your effort. Why I excluded pratyahara is because a pratyahara basically is closing your senses, but that is also 100% under your control. But if you do pratyahara without guidance and everything, many people I've seen have having whole lot of issues in their life. Okay, do not try these things on your own. Even though you can get a books and everything, all the instructions are there. Do not try these things on your own. It's not a thing to play with. Okay, even if you do it, some of them may not have much of a risk. It will take a whole lot of time to get the results. And if people see that results are not coming, they will give up very easily. Okay, and that will be the end of your spiritual process. I think I answered that question. Okay. So as Sadhguru says, to stay in Sahasrar is not a path. Yeah, that is absolutely what I said also. So you go to the Sahasrar one year to dissolve. Okay. Sahasrar is not for the enlightenment. It's for the liberation. So any people who is staying in the Sahasrar for too long period, they won't be able to handle their body. Okay. That's why it is not recommended. Even Sadhguru also does not recommend people to go into the Sahasra all the time. Okay, namaskaram to everyone who have just joined. So if it is all about becoming dead, why should one be joyful or keep other above ourselves? So, as a spiritual seeker, we should never take any conclusions. For example, whether Sadhguru is saying, or Shiva is saying, or somebody else is saying, don't take anything literally. You should never take anything literally. That is the beauty of the Sanatana Dharma. Even the Buddha says that, like, do not take my words literally. You should test it. Okay. So, now, if it is all about becoming dead, why should one be joyful or keep other above ourselves? See, what we need to keep in mind is, after we are born, we only have a choice, only one choice. Okay? We have only one choice. Because whether we like it or not, we are in this body, the life is happening. Okay, yes? Yeah? So the only choice we have is to give the conscious direction for this life. That is the only choice you have. Yes? You cannot stop this life. You cannot hit a handbrake or something like that. You just have only one choice, that is to give the conscious direction of your life or live unconsciously. Okay. So now the question comes, like, if it is all about becoming dead, now the question should also arise, who actually dies? Because people, like, who are unaware, they think that, like, death happens. But people who lived the life without thinking, for example, like, you might ask your parents, your ancestors, and everyone, you'll come to realize that, like, people we actually referred as dead are still not dead. Okay. You go and talk with your parents, like, you might people who we refer as dead are also not dead, and they are not even letting the rest of the people also live, enjoyfully or something like that. They will come back and start haunting those people. Okay. So because of those reasons, like, people identified that, like, death is not the solution. People identified death is not the solution. So what is the solution? If death is not the solution, because people thought that, okay, like, people are living very badly and everything. People say that, like, after death, like, everything will be over, but people have found out that, like, even things don't get over even after death. So people have realized that. So now the only thing they have actually identified is that if you live joyfully, at least if you live joyfully, then you can die joyfully also. Then death is not a problem. Yes? But if you don't live well, then the death is always going to be concerned in your mind. What is going to happen? What is going to happen? What is going to happen? Now, keeping others above ourselves, if you do it without sharing of your fulfillment, then it's a torturous process. If somebody says that, okay, you should live for others, then it's a torturous process. It's like hell. Okay. That is the only reason, like, even when there were a whole lot of people going with me to Kailash, I told them that if you want to be in a silence willingly, then it's a wonderful process. Like, it's going to be the best thing that you can do to yourself. And it is the only sacredness there is. But if we put somebody on a silence forcibly, without their willingness and everything, it is going to be the only sacrilege. It's going to be a very, very painful and torturous process. Same thing is this. If you are becoming joyful, or, if you are becoming joyful because somebody asks you to be joyful, then becoming joyful is also a torture. If you are helping other because, like, somebody is asking you to help, then it's going to be a torturous process also. So what we are actually talking about it is once you are born, you have only two choices. Either live unconsciously or live unconsciously or with living consciously. Okay, that is the only way you can do. There's no other way to do it. So because of this reason, now as Sadhguru says, like there are only two things in your life. One thing is profoundness of your experience, and then another is the impact. Yes? So before you act, you should be joyful. If you are not joyful first, and if you start acting, let's say you want to try helping people, then you become the slave of that action. Okay, you'll become the slave to that action. So only when you are able to help people, you'll become happy. Okay, the day you cannot help people, you'll become sad. So Sadhguru is not talking about that. What he says is, like, you first of all arrive to a point where you are joyful by yourself. Now, that is going to happen one day, that is completely fine. But at this moment, you are alive. So, you just make the best out of it. So, it is a sensible choice that, should you be joyful or miserable? So, if you are sensible, you'll become joyful, isn't it? Yes? So, it's a sensible choice to make. So same way, before helping other people or something like that, ensure that like you have arrived to the point where you are joyful by yourself. Otherwise, if you try to help other people just because somebody has told you, then it's going to be a very, very painful process. But that also can be used to break your limitation. So I have another question. Is mind just memory and imagination or more than that? So there is the third dimension into that one also. I think Sadhguru talks about a whole lot of things. There are 16 dimensions of it. Like Gautama the Buddha actually divided mind into millions and millions of parts and everything. But the simplicity's sake, now memory is basically what we actually refer as a memory is incomplete information. Okay, memory is always incomplete information because almost everybody cannot remember each and everything. Okay, maybe there are some exceptions, there are few people we have seen, but even with that also, but what we are talking about memory is, we're not talking about the conscious memory, but also subconscious memory and then the unconscious memory. Okay. So what we actually refer as the unconscious memory and subconscious memory, these are all a karmic information and all that kind of other memories in your different bodies, your 5 elements and all that kind of stuff. So in that context, mind is, yes, memory, imagination, and but before the memory and imagination, the most important thing is the discrimination, which is known as the buddhi. I think that part. Okay, in yoga, we call that part is known as the buddhi, because how much control you have over your buddhi can determine how well you are going to use your memory and imagination. Okay, and your buddhi will work efficiently only if you have taken a particular identification. Okay, because your memory and imagination functions based on your identification. Now that is the reason, Sadhguru says that, it is best you don't take any identification at all. But if you cannot take it, then take it the largest identification. That is the way of the Aham Brahmasmi. Okay, you take the highest identification that you can take. Take the inclusive approach. Because if you take the limited identification, your memory and imagination will function accordingly. For example, let's say you are a son. Your memory and imagination will function to serve that identification. You identify yourself as a disciple or a volunteer, your memory and imagination is going to function that way again. Okay, so mind is very complex, but we just need to know like how to make use of it. Okay, how it is going to work for us. That is the only thing that is matters to us. Okay, let's say like you have a memory of your like thousands or millions of lifetimes, but is it necessary for today's survival? No, because when you are let's say amoeba or something, your food was different. Now you have taken the human body. Now your food is different. Yes, you don't need the memory that used to serve the amoeba. You don't need that. You just need the memory that is going to serve this body. So make use of that memory according to your body. Now imagination is a very powerful tool, because without imagination, you cannot decide the direction of your life. It is impossible. But imagining based on comparison, it's not the best thing to do. So if you have a clarity, you can imagine and then you can envision, because without the imagination, like a vision is not possible. So you see like what is possible and what is not possible. That comes only through imagination. Okay, and imagination most of the time is the slave of the memory, because you cannot imagine anything other than what you already know. So that is where the sense will also come, and that is what we are talking about, the discrimination, the sense of choosing between what to do and what not to do, what to think, what not to think, where to go and where not to go. All these kind of things comes from the discrimination, which is known as the buddhi. So this is what I've been telling everybody, that like people have gone to Kailash, Kashi, wherever and everything. I always tell them that like the moment you experience something very powerful, profound, and beyond your mind and body, now you should be able to stay in that state and let your mind also function with the reference of that experience. Okay, with that experience, because most of the time people, what they do it is, they have got experience. The moment they come out of that state, they start using their identification that is given by the society as the absolute, and start functioning in a limited ways again. Okay, that way like you might have a great experience, but the transformation is going to be minimal or even non-existent. So whatever the highest experience that you have, actions, your visions and everything should be on the reference of that highest level of experience, not from the lowest level of experiences, like food, sleep, and shopping, and so on. So I do not know anything about the Naga Yantra. Okay. So this is a very bad way of analyzing your spiritual experiences, because there's no destination. Okay? In a spiritual process, this is the oxymoron that there's a destination. There's no destination in a spiritual process. Okay. If you create milestones or destination in the spiritual process, then you'll never reach there. Okay, there's a question called like explain something more about grahas. So I think like Sadhguru has spoken extensively, but like I'll also share a little bit more what I've learned and everything. So basically, as Sadhguru says, and even we also know that the solar system was also like created through certain kind of forces. Okay, and that's how like a solar system has come into the being. The largest body is going to be the sun, and there are like many other heavenly bodies over there. Okay, now what you actually call as a grahas are not actually the planets. Grahas comes from the word grahan. Graha basically means like something that is going to grasp or influence or eat it up. Okay, grahan basically means like you go and take it. It's like that. So basically means like when we are talking about the grahas or the navagraha in that context, we are referring to the heavenly bodies that has got certain influence in our life based on when we are born. Okay, because like we discussed earlier, that what you actually call as this moment, what you actually call as a moment, this moment is actually the momentum from the previous moments. Okay, this is just the momentum going on. Okay, so what you actually refer as the grahas and why your date of birth is very, very important is because it actually says that like which planet had the maximum influence. Again, I'm using the word planet again, not the planet, but which graha actually has got the maximum influence in your life, and depending on that, like what will be the trajectory of your life. So in this, they have actually identified the heavenly bodies that has got the maximum influence on you. So they have identified 9 of them, and this has been day of your week is actually the Ravivar, which is basically the sun, the day of the sun. Although like moon is the smaller compared to all other grahas like Saturn, Jupiter and other grahas, moon is actually closer to the earth and has actually got like a more influence than other grahas. That is the reason like it comes second into the order. So because of that reason, the second day of the week is actually the Sombar. Som basically is the moon. Similarly, I think like you now know the order. The third one is like the most influence that is got the Mangal or the Mars. So that is the reason like the Tuesday or the Mangal, the day of the Mars is the third one. Fourth Wednesday is the Buddha, which is the Mercury, because these are like closer to the earth. Okay, so it has got more influence on you. And after that comes the like Brihaspati, which is the Jupiter, and then comes the Shukra, which is the you're like a Venus, and then finally comes the Sunny, which is the Saturn. Okay, so although like these Saturn and Jupiter, these are bigger planet, bigger like heavenly bodies than the moon and other the grahas, but like since they are a little bit far away, their influence is less. Now there are 2 other grahas also, which is known as the Rahu and Ketu, which are not actually the physical heavenly bodies, but during the certain part of there are certain situation that is being created during the interplanetary conditions. These are known as the Rahu and Ketu. On your system, and for example like why the effect is and everything is because when you are born and everything, as you know, like you might think that okay, like I'm separate from this existence. You are not. You are not separate from the planet. Okay, for example, like you are living in this earth. The wind has impact on you, the sun has impact on you, the earth has impact on you, the water has impact on you. Everything has impact on you. Yes. Likewise, these heavenly bodies also has impact on you. So they are going to make changes in your body. For example, one of the easiest thing you can see into it is look into the sun. Okay. So the sun in nighttime, it has different impact on you already. It's very, very obvious. Because when the sun goes out of the sky, you feel sleepy already because your body want to sleep and want to take rest. When the sun comes out, the energy in the atmosphere also increases. That's how you want to come up. The moon, I don't think like we need to toss a whole lot of fluid in your body, blood and like all the fluids are there, even in your physical body also. So the water element in your body is also impacted by the planet, moons and everything. Okay, I think we're back now. All right. Okay, like I said that like you are not different from this existence. So because of that reason, like all these grahas will always have influence on your system. Okay, so Sadhguru says that like if you want to have minimal influence of this heaven, so like I was saying, like you should be going for the inner engine program. So if you need a whole lot of energy and everything, like you should be eating high pranic food. Okay, high pranic food. Avoid any kind of oily food or dry fruit. Dry fruits are fine, but do not use like fried foods and everything. Food aspect is that one, and do a lot of Sakti Chalana Kriya. Do your sadhana during the Brahma Muhurtam and Sandhyakalas and presence time. So yeah. So these are the way. So I cannot explain anything about what happens during meditation, okay? I don't know the question, like identifying with presence is also ignorance. I do not know what this question actually means, okay? The thing you need to keep in mind is either you are free or you are ignorant. These are the only two conditions. You cannot say that like I'm like a 99% ignorant. You are either completely ignorant or you are free. Okay, that's how it works. It is just like are you hungry or not? You cannot say that okay, I'm like a so much hungry. If you say you are so much hungry, you are hungry. Yes or no? Yes. Even if you are 1% hungry, you are hungry. Or you are full. Okay. How can we make dissociation with our different identities effectively and deeply while sitting eyes closed? Okay. So I don't want to go into like a very crazy kind of analogy here. So as Sadhguru says, and even through your spiritual practices, you will understand that the first thing you have to arrive to is you have to arrive to a point where and establish into the state where you have no identities. Okay. Without identities, you should be able to sit and be connect with that dimension. That is the first thing you need to do. Okay. Then to do certain things in the society or with your friends, or you want to do volunteering, or you are already married, or you want to get married or something like that, or you want to make money or something like that, then you have to craft your own identity yourself. The identity that works for that situation. Okay. Now this is the conscious decision you have to make. So the idea of like a dissociation or undissociation, it doesn't really matter, because the moment you know that all these identities are fake, or in a way it has been created by yourself consciously or unconsciously, then like there's no problem. Like you can sit in a meditation, without any problem. Okay. But if you have identified yourself with the false identity, if you do not even know that the identity is self-created, because all identities are self-created, whether consciously or unconsciously. So first you have to arrive to the point where you realize that like I have no identities. There's no identities. All identities are, either you created yourself or given by the society and you accepted it. Once you arrive to the point where you have no identities and everything, there's no problem. Then you can take whatever the identity you want to take to do certain kind of things. That is how it works. Okay, I got another question about like a dhyana experiences and everything. I will just try to make it simple. There is two types of samadhis, okay, because you are talking about the experiences. One is known as the Sabikalpa Samadhi, another one known as the Nirvikalpa Samadhi. In the Sabikalpa Samadhi, the mind is also there, you are also aware, everything is happening, Okay, that is the Sabikalpa Samadhi, and it is the most conducive kind of samadhi for everybody. Okay. The another kind of samadhi is something known as the Nirvikalpa Samadhi, where there's no mind. Okay, there's no attribute. That is the meaning of Nirvikalpa, basically means without any condition, there's a samadhi. Or there are another terminology known as the Nirvija Samadhi and Savija Samadhi. Savija Samadhi, which has got the seed. So because of that reason, you will be able to experience, that you are in samadhi, you are meditating, your thoughts are still running, or slowed down, or even gone, but you are still there. So this is known as the Savikalpa Samadhi. And it is the most conducive of them all. Nirvikalpa Samadhi is something else that happens in a very, very advanced states and everything, which is not conducive for the people who want to do something in the society. Okay, it's going to be a big problem afterwards, once you arrive to that point. Okay. Again, I got a question. Can I use Shambhavi Mudra whenever I used to meditate? I do not know what Shambhavi Mudra you are talking about. Is it Isha related or not or something? If you is Isha related, use the guidance from the ashram. Okay. Other Shambhavi Mudra, I do not know. Okay, I think we ran out of the questions and everything. If you have any question, you can post further. We can take another 10 minutes. Otherwise, we'll wrap it up. We have spoken already more than 2 hours. I'm just checking if I missed few of the questions and everything. See, as a seeker basically means you have to learn to drop off your books and whatever you know and everything. Okay, gathering knowledge is not spirituality. Okay. Because same thing can be interpreted in 1,000 different ways. Okay, I can see that there's no more questions. So okay, any upcoming yatras? Yeah, so there is one yatra coming up very soon from October 6 to 12. We have the South Indian Yatra. That's the final Yatra for, hopefully, for this year. We do not know whether we'll be having the another Yatra. Of course, next year we have the Kailash Yatra again. And around that something might happen, we do not know. I cannot guarantee you anything at the moment. I'm planning to start working on something more enduring and everything. So we'll see how it goes. So I have a question that how we know where we are stuck exactly, too much crying, shouting. See, one thing you need to keep in mind is like just like I've been always telling always that if you are doing the sadhana and everything, you have to learn to be like Nandi. Okay, you have to be like Nandi. The moment you expect something to happen, something not to happen, all that kind of stuff, you are trapped in your psychological game. Just sticking to the sadhana, like stick to the sadhana, stick to the sadhana, stick to the sadhana. If you feel like it's not good enough, intensify it as much as you can. Okay, that is the only thing you can do. Okay, otherwise, like there's no such thing as stuck somewhere. Okay, one thing you need to keep in mind is like the spiritual process is not the easy game. It's a most difficult thing. It's the most difficult thing, but with the guru, like it's far more easier, enjoyable, joyful, and all that kind of stuff. So you just do your sadhana. Don't look into like somebody else. Don't look into like what somebody else is doing, what other people are doing. Your sadhana is only you, and your guru is involved. So you just do your sadhana. Okay, don't look into expectation. Crank it up. Do your sadhana continuously. Eventually, like it is going to happen. Okay, but do not have the expectation that like you are stuck or something like that or something. If you are calculative and everything, you are not in a spiritual process. Okay. You have to use the bhakti, you have to use the karma, everything. You have to do volunteering also. If you are not doing volunteering, get involved in the volunteering. If you are, not into the bhakti, do Devi sadhana is coming like from day after tomorrow. I think like it is going to start very soon. So do your bhakti yatra and all that bhakti sadhana and everything. You have to do everything what is possible to you, and without any expectation. You have to do it. Go at it totally. Okay, go at it totally. It is going to happen 100%. I have seen like a whole lot of people like who have been traveling with me for 1 year or something. Like initially how they are, and like I can clearly see like how matured and how focused they are. Okay, simply because like they don't care about like what other people are doing around them. Because the moment you look into somebody else around you, then it's a big problem. It's a social game after that. Okay, somebody is wearing this kind of t-shirt, somebody is doing this kind of sadhana, somebody is going for Lapa Master, somebody is going to Kailash, somebody is doing this and that and everything. Don't get into all this kind of circus. Okay, the moment you have a spiritual process, just go at it completely. It's like that. Okay, so don't get into stuck or something like that. Like spiritual maturity will come only if you give it enough time and stay there for a longer period of time. Okay, stay your eyes closed maybe for a certain period of time. Don't do it too much also. Okay, sit down close by, don't doing anything, go for the volunteering, break your limitations. It is going to work. What should we do when we see people suffering their mind? Should we help them or just stay away from them? Recommend them miracle of the mind. You cannot do anything more than that. Yes, you can just do that much. We can help them like as much as we can. Like we can recommend certain period of time. We can recommend them. You can do inner engine program or certain kind of things. But it must be willing from the other people also. Okay, we cannot force people to do certain kind of things. Symbolisms Yatra, we do not know. Like it might take place. Like it got postponed. Maybe it is going to take place around March. Still, the dates are not clear yet. For Symbolisms, you can visit yourself also. Okay. Okay, sometimes I feel so hungry and postpone sadhana every evening. Sadhguru says like if you feel hungry, like drink some water. That is going to postpone your hunger. Okay, rather than postponing your sadhana. Okay. Okay, about Sai Baba, like you'll find a whole lot of books and everything, information online. Okay, let's not go into that one. We already have crossed nearly 3 hours now. So, what is the agenda of this live? Okay, we have already discussed about the different aspects of Shiva. That was the main agenda. But that's already over. All right, great. I think like we have come towards the end of this nice session. Like eventually, like everybody started getting involved a lot. We got very nice, questions and everything. Okay, how to increase competence? You have to go and learn with the best. Okay, if you want to build the competence, you have to go and learn with the best in the industry. Okay, whatever they are doing. And once you learn it, practice. That's the only way. Any plans for Adi to set up in Mumbai? I think it's very difficult to say at the moment. I cannot discuss much here, but looks like a very difficult. Okay, if you are unable to surrender yourself completely, you are not the only one. Because what you actually refer as the surrendering is the happening. Okay, you cannot surrender yourself. For example, like you cannot love consciously. Okay, you cannot love somebody consciously. You cannot do that. You have to fall in love. Yes, yeah, you have to fall in love. Surrendering is even higher than love, because as Sadhguru says that like in love you can recover. Let's say you fell in love with somebody and then you said, I cannot live without you and everything. But after the marriage, what has happened to a lot of people, okay, not for everyone, but just a joke, okay. So in love you can recover, but surrendering, or what we actually refer as a devotion, is something you cannot recover. So it should happen to you. That basically means that somewhere you still think that you still feel that like you know what you are doing. Okay, you may still think that what I am doing is more important than like what Sadhguru is doing. You see significance in your own work. It has happened to me also. When I went to Isha, like I already had like a very powerful spiritual experiences even before going to Isha. So I always had this idea that I was making these experiences happen through whatever I was doing, and I was very wrong. And it will take some time. So if you want to really work on that one, go for volunteering and go for advanced processes. Samyama is there. So yeah. Okay, I'm getting like all these kind of random questions from one of the Anna. Sometimes talking about Nath Parampara, sometimes talking about Sai Baba. We don't have time. You can Google. ChatGPT is going to give you a whole lot of answers. Okay. So if one's partner in life is not at all spiritual and no sadhana, but you are, how is it to be dealt with? So become the better version of yourself after the sadhana. Love does not mean, or partner does not mean that like you are going to change the another person. See, like let's say I love lotus, okay, let's say. But in my garden, like I've got only rose. Should I throw out the roses and plant the lotus? It's not like that. Whatever is in my life, I need to accept it. I have to accept it, isn't it? Yes, because acceptance is the only way of the life. For example, like a rain is happening, I don't like rain. Just because I do not like rain, like the rain is not going to stop. Yes, it is summer. Let's say like it's a summer. I don't like summer. Okay, just because I don't like summer, summer is going to change? No. So if your partner in your life is not as well spiritual and sadhana, then the first thing is that is your prarabdha. That is the karma. But I'm not asking you to just simply accept it and then deal with it and everything. I'm not talking about that one. Now what you need to do the next thing is, don't try to tell them to become spiritual. Do your sadhana and become the best partner possible. Maybe possibly like your partner can see that like you are becoming better with the sadhana and eventually understand the significance of sadhana. But if you go on hammering to your partner that you have to do your sadhana, you have to do your sadhana, you have to do your sadhana, then after that like she is going to hate you, she is going to hate the sadhana, and she is going to hate Sadhguru also. And it has happened to many families. Okay, so don't be that way. Just do your sadhana and be the better version of it. If your partner does the sadhana, it's good. If she doesn't do, it's also already fine. Because there are many things that is not under your control in your life. Okay, great. Yeah. So I think I'll take like one final question. Okay, anybody has any kind of question? Then we'll wrap it up. Okay, this is the last question. Okay, how does intensity and inclusion, compassion work together? Okay. So how does intensity and inclusion, compassion work together? See, intensity basically means that like you have created an intent. The moment you create an intent, then intensity is natural. Okay, it doesn't have anything other things to be done apart from that one. Once you have set your direction, intensity is going to be natural. Most of the people have never decided what they want from their life. That is the reason like there's no intensity. Now in terms of the inclusion and compassion, there are two aspects into it. First thing is like Sadhguru says that you try to include somebody else only when you are fulfilled by yourself. Okay, just like we discussed earlier. If you are not fulfilled by yourself, if you don't have the joy within yourself and everything, including somebody or the having a compassion work is going to be a painful process, because now you will become result oriented. Okay, so it is best that like you arrive to a point where you are joyful by yourself, you are doing your regular sadhana, and then if something works, it's fine. If it doesn't work, it's also fine. So again, intensity is also the same thing. Like if you want to relate with your inclusion and everything, intensity ensures that like whatever should happen in 10 years is going to happen in 1 year. Whatever is going to happen in 1 year You can make it happen in 5 days. Whatever has to happen in 5 days, you can do it in 1 day. Yes. So intensity is going to crunch the time. What is your diet like? I eat like usually oil-free, like cooked food. And then there's a mix of raw food, raw vegetables, raw food, and then the cooked food also. Yeah. So it's vegetarian. It was interesting to meditate or Sadhguru Shiva form. If you are a family person, like I recommend not to meditate, okay, on Sadhguru Shiva form. Or even in Sadhguru's form also. Again, Sadhguru has told that not to do it. Sadhguru Shiva form is going to, you may not be able to handle it like if you do regularly. Okay. Sure, Anna, I'll see you, Zain Anna, Abdul. Next year. When you say intensify or sadhana, if you can elaborate. So it's quite simple. Like if sadhana is the only thing you need to do in your life, intensity is going to be natural. That's it. Okay. Don't do sadhana like one more thing in your life. If you do sadhana as one more thing in your life, then there's no intensity. Okay. It's just like that. Okay, thank you very much, everybody, for joining in today. I didn't expect it like it to last this long, but yeah, it's nearly 3 hours. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining in. We just did this podcast so that we could discuss a little bit about the forms of Shiva and everything. Yeah, so it's like that. So thank you very much for joining. So before we wrap up, like I've got one final question: how to make everything sadhana? You can make everything as an offering. Okay, so whatever you do as an offering, then it becomes a sadhana. Namaskaram, everyone. Thank you very much and good night. Shiva Shambhu.